The worst crimes under international law are being committed all over the world. Right now, focus continues on the war in Gaza, with the International Criminal Court still seeking the arrest of the Israeli Prime Minister and his former defense minister. The Hamas leaders who are indicted by the ICC have now all been killed by Israel. This war has divided communities and raised fury all over the world, particularly fraught in the United States, where you can even end up behind bars for your views. One example, Palestinian activist and Columbia graduate Mahmoud Khalil. He played an integral role in the anti-war campus protests last year, and it made him a target in Trump's battle with universities, free speech, immigration, all in the name of combating anti-Semitism. In March of this year, ICE officials seized him from his apartment and threatened to revoke his green card. After 3 months in detention without charge, Khalil was finally released on bail. His story has outraged many, and I spoke to him, asking how it felt to be in the middle of Trump's crackdown. Mahmoud Khalil, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Take me back to that day, which was awful for you and your family and all your friends and relatives and people watching, when they came to your house, I think it was nighttime, and we have some video, and seized you.
You guys really don't need to be doing all of that.
Yeah. Christian, it felt like kidnapping, having plainclothes agents follow me into the lobby of my building, a private space, threatening my wife with arrest if she wouldn't separate from me, refusing to answer any questions I have, refusing to produce a warrant arrest, and basically like saying all the wrong things, like that I have a student visa. They did not believe that I am a green card holder. So it literally felt like kidnapping, extrajudicial targeting. And for the next 24 or 30 hours, I was literally moved from one place to another like an object. So they took me to an office in New York, then in New Jersey, to Texas, then to Louisiana, which is literally 1,400 miles away from New York. So it would have been easier to fly from New York to London than actually take me to Louisiana.
And probably more comfortable. Let me just ask you.
Absolutely.
Were you harmed at all at any time? Were you beaten? Were you rough-handed? Were you harmed?
I was shackled all the time, shackled like this, and my ankles as well. It felt like I was criminal. I did not know what charges they have against me. And by the time I arrived in Louisiana, my leg was fully swallowed. I couldn't walk to enter the detention center. So it was very, very dehumanizing experience for someone who was not accused of any crime whatsoever.
You say that because there's no charges, no formal charges against you, and you mentioned you're a green card holder, and that is a lawful permanent resident of the United States. Have you still got your green card? Have they taken it away, revoked it?
They are in the process of revoking my green card. I still have it as like a lawful residency. And as you said, like the charges against me are immigration related. They are not criminal or that I did, or civil actually. It's just like that I am a foreign policy threat to the United States, the irony. Or they later added retaliatory charges that I misrepresented my green card application. Given that I submitted my green card application a year before my arrest, and it was approved by the same Department of Homeland Security.
So let's talk about the accusations. You say it was, foreign policy related. Let's get it absolutely straight. President Trump on Truth Social called you, quote, a radical, foreign, pro-Hamas student. His spokeswoman, Carolyn Levitt, said that you were, quote, siding with terrorists. Why do you think they said that about you? And as we described when we introduced you, you were one of the student protest leaders in this very fraught situation of the war between Israel and Gaza on Columbia University campus. What did you think when they when they said that about you?
It's absurd. It's basically to intimidate me. They want to conflate any speech for the right of Palestinians with a speech that's supporting terrorism, which is totally wrong. The protests were peaceful. We're asking a simple ask to stop Columbia University and the U.S. complicity in the genocide that's happening in Gaza. And that's why I see these accusations as intimidation. And that's why it did not. They did not succeed in court. I mean, as of yet. And it's just like to distract from what's really happening. They want to distract us from the U.S. support, unconditional support to Israel in its genocidal war in Gaza. This is what's happening, or what happened to me and to others. And it's a message that they want to make an example out of me, even if you are a legal resident, even if you are a citizen, actually, that we will find a way to come after you, to punish you, if you speak against what we want.
Can I just ask you, because, you know, you're right in the middle of it, and you were a student leader, and as you say, the events that you were involved in were peaceful. You never masked yourself, I don't think. You never claimed to be, you know, Hamas or pro-Hamas. But I want you just to try to understand that in some other universities, there were people in the immediate aftermath, pro-Palestinians, in the immediate aftermath of October 7th, who essentially blamed Israel and, you know, even exacerbated even support for Hamas. And I wonder whether you think, in retrospect, these protests were, the early ones, maybe even some on Columbia campus, were self-defeating and got you all in the kind of trouble that you're in now.
What's self-defeating and what's dangerous is actually continuing the killing in Palestine. This is what these students speak or spoke against. And from the moment that these students spoke out against Israel, they were labeled anti-Semite, that they're creating hostile environment to Jewish students. Again, this is just like deliberate distortion from reality. These students did not actually or the protests themselves did not create a hostile environment for Jewish students. The Jewish students were an integral part of this movement because their Jewish values and teachings tell them that they should stand up against injustices, especially when these injustices are being committed by a state or by a state that claiming to represent them. So I refuse this sort of connotation that these protests were in any way violent, in any way anti-Semite. What's violent is universities and governments penalizing and criminalizing freedom of speech. This is what we really should look at right now. We should focus on actually why these students are protesting right now. It is because their universities and the U.S. government is fully invested in the killing of the Palestinian people. It's as plain as that. And they take safety and anti-Semitism concerns very, very, very seriously. But we have to distinguish between discomfort and safety.
When you came out, and I'm asking you this because people will ask you, you did actually, you know, walk around with a bunch of people, protesters who were chanting from the river to the sea, that whole thing that seems to just drive people mad, even though the Israeli government says it as well. People just seem to think that that is a connotation for destroying a people, for, you know, for all the issues of anti-Semitism that those concerned have raised. Why do you keep using it? What's the point and the value of that slogan anymore, since both sides use it?
Yeah, that's a fair question, and protesters keep using it because language matters, history matters, and from the river to the sea is a call for justice, for freedom, for all people between the Jordan River and the Mediterranean Sea. Unfortunately, the pro-Israel camp in this country and around the world, they would rather deliberately misrepresent this slogan because for them to cancel speech is easier than actually engaging and reflecting on this speech. And I even would go like further with the globalized intifada that now the whole country is mad about. A globalized intifada is we have to take it within its context, because globalized intifada is a call to globalize solidarity in the world. The intifada is simply a word for uprising, and I don't want to give a history lesson now about like what intifada, like first intifada and second intifada were, but we're largely a mass civil resistance against Israel apartheid and Israeli occupation, whether in the 90s or early 2000. So this is again goes with the fact that what we should be worried about is the bombs that are killing people rather than the chants that are making some people uncomfortable.
You know, there are people who are going to ask you, do you condemn, and I'm going to ask you, what Hamas did on October 7th?
I condemn targeting and violence against all civilians, and international law is clear about that. I also condemn the selective outrage on such circumstances, because I also condemn the 75-year of dispossession of ethnic cleansing, of killing of Palestinians, and this is not just justification. It's really dealing with the root causes of the war against Palestinians.
Mahmoud Khalil, you have come out as determined as ever to speak up for your cause and for the justice of your people. They didn't beat that out of you in jail or you know, push you to take a different track. Tell me again what it was like in jail in terms of, I don't know, the food, the sleeping, the people who you were in there with. What was it like? And did you ever risk your spirit being broken?
From the moment that I was detained, I knew that I would eventually prevail. That what I simply did is protesting a genocide. In terms of conditions, and this is what I keep saying, the moment you enter such facilities, such ICE facilities, your rights literally stay outside. On the inside, as you would expect, the food was as close as could be to inedible. I had to switch to vegetarian because the meat was. I threw up like after I ate the meat there. It was so cold. We had to ask for more blankets, but no one would answer our requests. A lot of people inside, like they don't know their rights. They're not allowed to question like ICE about like why you brought me here, because a lot of them were brought from the court. Literally, someone was in his court defending his case, asylum case, and was taken into custody from court. So there's a lot of dehumanization. The Trump administration is trying to paint all these like undocumented people as criminals. However, it's the opposite. It's totally the opposite. A lot of them have been in the United States for a large number of years. They have U.S. citizen like family members. Yet they feel that they are defeated.
You missed the birth of your first child, a boy. Everybody was very concerned about your wife, who is an American citizen, there without you. What was that like? And then what was it like when you were first able to hold your child for the first time?
Missing the birth of my child, I think that was the most difficult moment in my life. Especially because like this could have been avoided. We put so many requests to be able to attend that moment, and I don't think I would be able to forgive them for taking that moment away from me. The first time I saw my child was literally through thick glass. He was literally in front of me, like 5 centimeters away from me, yet I couldn't hold him. And when the moment came to hold him, it was by court order to have 1 hour with him. So to be honest, I just can't describe that moment. And it's a combination of anger and happiness. I was happy that I was finally holding him in my hands, but at the same time angry at this system that deprives people from such important moments in their lives.
Mahmoud Khalil, thank you so much for being with us.